Hi guys.
Hello.
Behind us, there's a little church in this village where we live. Um, yeah, I come from an atheist family, and I didn't have any Bible school, no religious education. I didn't know anything about what religion or faith was. Um, I remember that I was a child and we went into a church. Um, Basically to see the architecture, the art, the paintings, the sculptures. So church was for me a place for art, for music, for paintings and everything, and for ritual. It was very interesting to me as a child to see these rituals, and I saw a woman. She was praying. I didn't know at the time that what she was doing, but she was in a weird physical position, and she was talking to herself, and I wanted to go to her and just interact with her, and my mother told me, "Shh, you're not supposed to do that. Do not disturb the woman." I suppose um, that was my first experience being in a church and seeing someone um, praying. And another interesting personal experience, I love the theatrical aspect of being in a church, like doing this, and saying those prayers. I love the music. I love the architecture. I love the Gothic churches, especially. That architecture spoke to me, still speaks to me. Um, yeah, but I didn't really know what it is and what it means. In my family was nobody praying, and and later on in my history lessons, we learned that there were many wars fought in the name of God, and there were lots of suffering and killings because of religious differences. Um, yeah, Douglas, on the other hand, has a completely different background.
Yes. And thank you for sharing your story because it's very interesting, the architecture and the way the music and the art shapes you. So, yeah. For me, I come from the American South, and as many people know, the Black American South is rooted in the culture of church is rooted in the culture of Black American South. I grew up going to church. My parents were involved heavily in the church. I was always going to church with my grandparents in Clayton, North Carolina. It's a huge tradition for me, for black people. And I think historically in the 60s with the civil rights movement, it's been a huge pillar. The church has always been a huge pillar for community within the black within the black race. So what can I say? I mean, church has always been a part of me. We were always going to church. I remember at some point we would be in church like all day and I would be ready to go home and play.
Why was that? Why all day?
I think I don't know, because it could have been the structure of the church that I went to back then. It was and plus I think the involvement of my parents. My parents were heavily involved in the church. Like my mom was the choir director, and so she was doing things. My dad was a part of the audiovisual department. So we were heavily intertwined with the church. And even up until high school, I myself was involved in gospel choirs and singing and being a tenor and going to churches all across North Carolina, rural North Carolina. So the church is, I mean, I cannot separate the church from my life. In North Carolina, specifically within the South, there are churches pretty much on almost every street, every corner.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it is heavily involved.
Okay. And at home, did you guys have rituals that
Well,
had to do something with religion? Like, did you pray before
yeah, we did pray
you
before
ate?
bed. Yes, we
Or
prayed before we ate. Yes, we prayed before we ate. And, um, I had Bible study on Wednesdays, and then on Sunday we had church. We would get up in the morning. But that's such a pivotal part of the Black American experience, specifically within Black families, is for the whole entire family to get up in the morning and get ready. The mama doing her hair, the father is tying the tie, the mom is doing the sister's hair. That's such
Okay.
it's a pivotal part of the Black experience. Church.
Okay.
And then the gospel music. I loved all of that, being in theater and all of that. The plays.
And then you were noticing probably at some point that you were gay. And how was that? Did that interfere with this religious life or education that you had?
It did, because I think many people know that there's been a complicated relationship with gays in the church because of the Old Testament and what the Old Testament says about, or what they said that the Old Testament said, because now we're realizing that there was no specific, in the Bible, there's nothing that says gay in the Bible. But that was a narrative that was imparted upon us, many gay people within the Black church experience, or within church period, not just Black, that it's a sin to be gay. It's a sin. There is the scripture, be fruitful and multiply. Not, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Okay.
And
Okay.
yeah. So that's just, that's just how was your experience? Were you did religion play any part in conjunction with your gayness? Or
Well, no, because religion didn't play any role in my growing up, any role, because I was born and raised in a former socialist country,
yeah.
so most families were atheist, or even if they were religious, they were sort of kept it quiet. So no, it didn't play any part. I had other problems with being gay, but not like religious problems. And I think that I kind of knew that religion is, I should say not necessarily religion, more like church, like the institution, is not for me, because I realized in my, history lessons that, I had the impression that religion is not for me, because there was so much suffering related to religion.
Yeah.
Religious wars, people were being tortured, killed, scientists, because they stated something that was not the policy or the doctrine of the church, such as the earth is not the center of the universe. And so I just had this impression that religion is something bad, because people die, people suffer, it's hindering development, it's hindering technology, science. So it was negative. It was negative at that time when I was a kid, and to be honest, I thought that people were crazy, and I felt sorry for them because I felt like they had to follow crazy rules that made their lives really difficult.
Yeah.
And of course, later I understood that religion is not just that.
No.
There's a lot more to it, but I should add faith. But faith, because faith is not the same as religion, and faith is not the same as the church as an institution.
Right.
And to me, like what the church says and what certain people, authorities within the church say is not necessarily the truth, or not necessarily, I do not necessarily accept it as a word from God. And even though I wasn't religious in that sense, I was spiritual.
Yeah, right.
And I think, for me it was possible, and it still is. And I have no problem with religious people. Because it's really a personal thing. Faith is a personal thing.
It's subjective.
And how you live it, how you practice it can be totally individual, and that makes all the difference.
Right.
So I'm just trying to say that I do not reject religion, I do not reject faith. I'm just saying that when I was a child, it was more like a negative thing to me. And it took a long time to understand that the church and religion is not only that, not only oppression, not only wars,
Right.
not only silly rules, but there's more to that.
Yeah.
But and then at some point I discovered my spirituality, which has nothing to do with the church,
Right.
and nothing to do with the established religions. It's more like an attitude. It's more like a philosophy. It's more like a way of thinking. Yeah, and but what about you? Like do you have like a personal experience when you felt that there was a conflict between your sexuality and the religion that you were practicing, or the education that you had? Like, did you have a personal experience to that?
I do. I've had multiple experiences. Like I said, religion has played a huge part in my life. I think I was at war with myself for a while, which is why I injected myself so deeply within art, fashion, and tried to escape it, and became this caricature of like achievement, because I was at war with myself. And I think there are some deep wounds from the church, from my experiences with family, or with family friends, or in the community of the church, because the church is a community. It's like there's this quote that says it takes a village to raise a child. So for me, I think from a very, very early age, being in that environment, being in a private Christian academy where my entire life was dictated by the church. My entire life was there because I went to school at a church. I went to school in a Christian environment. So there were Bible lessons within our curriculum.
Okay.
So church was a huge part of my life. And I think I was at war with myself because as a child, I loved the church. I love the creativity of the church. I love the music. I love the singing. I love the uplifting messages that I received. But there were moments where, due to my femininity, due to being surrounded by so many strong and powerful women in my life, like my grandmother, my mom, and my aunts, and all of the women in the church and stuff like that, there were moments where I was bullied because of my femininity. And I remember just like, not only as a young person, but as a teenager, because I was involved in gospel choir within my high school years. I was at war with myself because there were these two things that I loved. I knew that I was feminine. I knew that I had, interest in men or whatever. I knew that but I still knew that I love gospel music. I love the church. I love my mom, and I love, the upliftingness of the church. But there were, back in 2013, still messages and still a lot of division regarding these two areas of my life: sexuality, homosexuality, and Christianity.
Okay.
So I was at war with myself, and I think there were moments within my childhood where I felt very alone, and it's just taken up recently to unhinge myself from those wounds. So yes, it's hard, because I think there has been a divisive factor within family, that
Okay.
people have said, don't forget God, and what do you believe, and there's this consistent questioning of like, what do you believe, and you know, so there is a division. There has been.
Okay, and I suppose, I don't know, but if the parents are so religious, then it becomes also a very personal
Yeah.
issue, because they are also your parents, but they are also your religious advisors or educators.
Yeah.
And was there a conflict there? How did they accept, as a religious people, accept the fact that you were gay?
It wasn't an acceptance I mean, if I'm being honest, it was not an acceptance. There
Okay.
were multiple heartbreaking rejections at that time, in my teenage years. And recently, I mean, there were some rejections in the past year. Well, not the past year, but I don't know. There were things, and I feel like that, because of that core wound of rejection, I built up a wall within myself where I couldn't even allow people to love me, because I was so heartbroken that I couldn't even really fully fathom that and put that into words. Or I was heartbroken because, yeah, it's a core wound.
I'm sorry to hear that. And what can you do with that? Like, how can you deal with the situation that your parents treat you in a certain way because you're gay, but you still love them, and they love you as well.
And I
So
feel that. Yeah.
but how can you deal with this situation? Yeah, how can you deal with truth and forgiveness at the same time, or how
Well, that's all we can do, and I feel that through forgiveness, that's the most ironic thing, because that's what the Bible teaches. That's one of the most important virtues, is forgiveness within the church. I do remember that. Forgive yourself and forgive your neighbors, forgive your sins, all of these things. I think forgiveness for me helps me to move on. You know, because I realized that one thing I'm realizing is that they made mistakes. They were their own person. They did what they could at that time. They knew what they were doing at that time. They were young. They had kids. Like we had a conversation one day, you know, your grandparents had kids. Your grandparents were not always old. They were not always old. They, you know, they're all figuring it out at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And do you think that they are figuring it out? And do you think that they can change and accept you more and more?
Yeah,
Being gay and being a believer, or part of a religious family.
I think, yeah, I think so. Yes, there has been, and specifically within my family, I've seen remarkable change. Because I remember at one point I couldn't even listen to. Um, it was very strict, but I think they were strict because they were a result of their environment that they were in. Because the church that we were in was very strict.
Okay.
So the messages that they were receiving from the corrupt pastor were also messages that they were imparting upon me as a child.
Okay.
And so I have to forgive them for that, because those were some of that was indoctrinated within them.
Okay.
But I remember at a time I couldn't even listen to any secular music. I remember the music was a big thing. Couldn't watch MTV. Couldn't do certain things. It was very strict.
Okay.
But we've changed. We've since changed, and I think that there's an analogy like you can't keep picking the Band-Aid. You can't keep picking the scab, or else it's never gonna heal.
And how is that deep inside of you? Like what is your faith or spirituality now, and how can you integrate your identity in that faith?
Yeah.
Or the other way around, how can you integrate faith into your identity? Like, how does that work out for you?
Well, I think my faith now is more of a variety. It's a variety of things, and I know this is a huge scandal for me to even be saying this, because in the church there's a lot of people who probably follow this channel or who will see this and probably will be like, "Oh, you lukewarm," and there's this doctrine of "Thou shalt not have any gods before me."
Mm-hmm.
There's no idolatry, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's complicated, but for me, what gives me peace is knowing that the ultimate faith should be based off of love, and whatever you want to call the religion, whatever, you know, whatever denomination it comes from, wherever, whether it's Buddhism, whether it's Taoism, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, I think all religion or all philosophy any kind of faith that you apply to your life should be rooted in love. It should be rooted in optimism, and should be rooted in generosity for humanity and service to other people.
And why is that love? I think it's a very important element in faith, and how you deal with other people. But how is it possible that love oftentimes gets forgotten or left out of this equation? Like, people are very religious and they don't love people who are different anymore. They can't accept people who are different anymore. Like, how and why?
It's something that is a continuous debate. It's something that is a continuous question. But I will say compassion leads to understanding. And if you can have compassion for other people, regardless of what they believe, And if you can see the humanity within everybody else, then I feel like we can make significant progress with understanding. I think the ultimate is to try to understand where someone else is coming from. I think there are a lot of different people on the earth. There are a lot of different people who practice different religions, a lot of people who do different things in their bedroom sheets. There are a lot of people who identify as transgender, as whatever. But I know that our time on this earth is limited, and I know that I just believe that compassion, generosity should be, and understanding should be the ultimate way that we can spend our time here.
I have one.
Hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did. Well, you did. I have one more question, or maybe two. The first question is like, what it's like for you to accept me as an atheist. Like I'm not even baptized. Like, can you, like, what are your feelings about that? Like I come from a completely different background in that regard.
Well, I know in my heart, deep in my heart, that you love me.
Yes, I do.
You know? And that's what ultimately formed our relationship. I feel love from you. You know? And I hope that you feel love from me as well.
Yeah, I do. But did you ever feel that it's did you ever notice in our everyday life that I'm not coming from a religious family? Like,
I did, and I think it was very therapeutic to me because the religion was so deeply indoctrinated within my family, so deeply indoctrinated within Black American culture. And that's part of the reason why it's so therapeutic to be here and to be working in science and to be engaging with you and to be with someone who can be real and who could be very objective to certain scenarios and just be honest and be real. Because I think that sometimes religion can thwart understanding and compassion if it's not I don't know how to.
If it's not practiced in the.
If it's not practiced in a mindful way.
With love.
With mindfulness and love, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And a lot of people leave the church behind, like especially young people. It's not that important for them anymore. And do you think it's important to have some sort of a faith or spirituality? What do you think about that?
I will say that I think what's the most important is to have curiosity, and the courage to see past other people's differences. I think that religion has been very divisive, but I will say something that maybe I'm biased, because I have sought and I have gained refuge from Buddhism and from Taoism, because it's more so of a philosophy than it is a religion. It is not necessarily, yes, there are nuns, there are monks. These are people who have devoted and took oaths and they meditate, and that is they live in a monastery, and that is their life. But for me, something that I keep going back to is just the non-attachment to views. And I don't know if that answered your question. What was your question again? I'm sorry. Do you think it's necessary for people to have religion?
To have some faith, some spirituality today? Or is it good if we just all abandon faith and is it possible at all to abandon spirituality completely? and just be completely rational and fact-based and that sort of thing.
No, I don't think so. I think we need to have something to believe in. I mean, I personally, I mean, maybe that's me. I feel like at least what I don't like about Christianity sometimes is that there is a very dogmatic belief that you have to have faith, you have to be baptized, you have to be born again, you have to be saved. You know, there's a requirement in order for you to achieve heaven. You know, and heaven is this ideal of a place that you achieve, that you can go to after you die. I don't think that heaven should be a place where you have to die first in order for you to go to.
Okay.
I think that heaven is available, the kingdom of heaven is available in the present moment. And I feel like if we can have reverence for the present moment and live more presently and live more mindfully and find moments of stillness and mindfulness within our engagement and then within our interactions with others, then we can ultimately make the world a better place. But I think it takes awareness. I think it might take suffering. It might take suffering in order for you to fully an acceptance of the suffering.
Yeah. And can you because you said like you took refuge in Buddhism and Taoism, but is it possible? Do you think it's possible for a Christian person to be gay, like actively, openly gay,
Yeah.
and actively, you know,
Christian.
Is it possible?
It is. They made lots of the gays in the Christian church have made lots of revelations. I think it is. It's just because I went to a church in Greensboro, North Carolina, at the time that I went to college, and there was a preacher who accepted the gays and who was fully proud of his gay son.
Okay.
And the gay son was leading the choir and singing every Sunday in front, and was as fabulous as he wanted to be.
Okay.
So I think that we have made huge advancements within the American church as far as homosexuality, because I think we're realizing like there is nothing that says gays cannot. There really. I remember that there was something online that I read that said there is no gay mentioning of the word gay in the Bible.
Okay. And I do think, by the way, that we need spirituality. We need that. We can't get rid of it. But it doesn't, because it's part of us. It's genetically part of us. It's in our brain. So mankind needs spirituality, and also I think certain aspects of religion or any kind of spirituality helps us to have a better life and be happier. For example, the idea of synchronicity. So our life is not just a series of random events, but there is a reason why things happen the way they happen.
Yes.
And then if you start looking for the things that explain to you what is good in the current situation, then you can have a much happier life. If you're not always focusing on the negative things, the things that are hindering you from doing something, but if you try to understand in the current situation why it has to be this way now and what is it good for, that it is exactly as it is, then it will help you to move on.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the battery is dying. And
You sure you don't
we've
have anything
been-
more to say, or you?
No, I
everything's
think
okay?
it's a good place to end this conversation.
Yeah.
We're gonna circle back around topics, so it's not like the last time that we've ever talked about this. So we'll come back to it. But
I
I
just-
think, yeah. Go ahead.
I just wanted to insert this last thing because it's been on my mind heavily.
Yeah.
It's been in my subconscious mind. Anybody who is like so Christian that they cannot believe in any kind of other faith, I want to go back to the civil rights movement with Martin Luther King and Thich Nhat Hanh. Okay? Thich Nhat Hanh was a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, and he was embraced by this renowned Southern Baptist preacher who changed lives, and both of them got a Nobel Peace Prize because the whole entire narrative of what they were preaching was about peace within the world. So there can be synchronicity across faiths.
Okay.
That's all I had to say.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.